Now that we have pinned the muzzle into place, we're going to take our yarn tail and we're going to put it onto a tapestry needle. We're going to use invisible stitches to sew the muzzle to the head. Now I start by using my needle to just push the stuffing in underneath the muzzle. I'm going to take my first pin out because this is where I'm starting. I start off by going into that same space where the slip stitch came out, and then I'm going into a stitch underneath. I don't know if you can see it nicely, but over here, that stitch falls just underneath the muzzle. My needle is going to go in there and it's going to come out here at this stitch, like that. So you can see my needle is actually under this. I'm not sewing next to it, I'm sewing under the muzzle. That's what makes your stitches invisible. Push the needle through and let your yarn tail follow. Okay, so that's the first one. Then I go into the next V-stitch and we once again make sure that we are sewing under the muzzle, not next to the muzzle, like that. You can see there. When we pull our stitch tight, you'll see that our stitch basically disappears instead of making a line that would be visible. This is important because we are working with contrasting colors and it can be tricky to not let them show in a way that ruins your piece. So we're just going to keep sewing like this all the way around and making sure that our muzzle stays just below the eyes. Whenever it's necessary, you can use your needle to just push the stuffing in. Now with each stitch, you'll notice that I pull tight and I go into the next muzzle stitch before working through. The smaller your stitches are that you are making, the neater your final effect will be and the less you'll be able to see where the stitches are. The larger you make the stitches, the more visible they will become. So it really is worth it to just take your time with this, do it nice and neatly. It will add so much to the final result of your toy. In this case, Bella. You see we're staying on this row between the eyes as we crochet. We're not going, as we sew. We're not going any higher. We want to make sure that that row stays nice and even. Now, these tapestry needles are blunt, so you don't need to worry about sticking yourself with one. But you do need to make sure that you keep working under the muzzle. Take out the next pin. I know it looks like I'm not working under the muzzle in this stitch, but that's because we are pulling our muzzle a little bit to the left. So when we go in there, we're going to go in the same stitch where we came out. And when we pull tight, it has become under the muzzle. That only works if you go into the same place where you came out. I tend to always go into the same stitch I came out of as I work around the muzzle. So yeah, the sewing, it does take a little bit of time, it takes a little bit of patience, but if you do it correctly from the word go, it'll look so nice in the end, and it will be well worth the effort that you have to put into it. Some patterns are no-sew, but the techniques used in them are a little more advanced than that which the complete beginner would use. So for the beginner patterns, we first teach you how to do the sewing nicely so that you know how to do it. Let's take out the next pin. As you can see, we're starting to get to the bottom part, which is a little bit harder to sew because now we've got the body in the way. But because we've already sewed the top area, it is indeed possible for us to sew this neatly. Just turn your work in any direction that you need to turn it in order for you to be able to get the needle through the work. Personally, I'm not a great big fan of sewing. Most people don't enjoy it, but it's worth it if you do it neatly. Starting to get back towards where we started. Now we've reached our final pin, so we're going to take it out. We've now got a small hole left over here, you can see, and if you look at the muzzle, you'll notice that although it's got stuffing in it, it's not very firmly stuffed, it's very softly stuffed. At this point we're going to be adding more stuffing, so you take your stuffing and your hole should still be big enough for your finger to fit in, so you can just use your finger to shove the stuffing in. You're going all the way through to this side as well because you want to stuff the muzzle evenly and firmly. Now we only add the stuffing now because stuffing just complicates your sewing process and we don't want the sewing to be too difficult to do. So adding the stuffing at this point will do the trick. Now you'll see when you squeeze it, it bounces back. Squeeze, bounce back. If it doesn't bounce back, you have not added enough stuffing. If it won't give you a little bit of give, then you've added too much stuffing. I'm just going to add a tiny little bit more because mine's got a little bit too much give. Okay. And once we're happy with the amount of stuffing that we've got in there, we are going to just sew that last part of the opening closed. Make sure that your stuffing is on the inside. As you can see, we're right back where we started now. And you'll see the slip stitch is making this sort of bump over here, so I just go into the slip stitch and I make another stitch to pull it tight and flat so that you can't actually see that the slip stitch was there. Now, some people like to go around more than once. Some people are satisfied with just once. I do like to do a few extra stitches just to make everything nice and secure, because once I've sewn something on, it is never, ever, ever coming back off again. As you can see, it can sometimes be tough to pull your needle through when you get to the end stitches. Okay, now once you are happy that your muzzle is sewn on as tightly as it needs to be, that everything is neat and tidy as you would like it to be, you are going to stick your needle in by the muzzle, and you're just going to come out in any random stitch of the head and just pull your yarn through. Just going to do that again. And pull the yarn tail through, take my needle off, and we're just going to leave our yarn tail there for a while. You'll see how to work it away later on. You can cut it a little bit shorter because you don't need it to be as long anymore. I'll show you how to hide it away and secure it once we've got a second yarn tail to work with. But at this point, that is what your head should look like. See, the muzzle is pointing down a little bit if you're looking from the side. There we go.